Welcome, everybody, to Why Are You an Entrepreneur? The Trials and Triumphs. I'm Maureen Edwards. I'm the founder of 8 Simple Steps. And every single week, I bring you rockstar entrepreneurs to have rockstar conversations. For those of you who are small business owners just starting, maybe you're struggling a little bit, or you just want to find out what's going on out there with some of your fellow entrepreneurs. It's all right here. And this is actually a special edition that we have. You know that we usually tune in to everybody on Thursdays at 5 o'clock. Well, here we are, Wednesday, 5:30, and there is no way that I could not bring you this rock star. So we had to reschedule it. And I'm just absolutely thrilled to introduce you to Robin Shear. She is a joy coach. Like, have we ever heard of that? But we all need one. And she's the founder of Joy to the World. And so I want to welcome you, Robin. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, Maureen. Gosh, when you asked me to do this, I was like, how soon? How soon can we have this conversation? So thank you.
And I'm so glad that we are, because, I had an emergency and I had to cancel. And I'm like, life is messy. So,
Yeah,
but at the same time, I'm booked solid. Yeah, I'm booked solid for months. And I'm like, there is no way that people can't hear from this joy coach. And we're going to get into kind of where that all has come about. But I ask the first question all the time: why are you an entrepreneur? What has brought you to this? Or is there a big, long story here?
The short answer is I didn't mean to become one. That was not my plan. I kind of thought that entrepreneurs were more like inventors. I really didn't know what an entrepreneur was. All I knew was I had like this burning desire to help people. I knew that I could make a difference in people's lives. I had a crazy idea for how that could come to be. And so I just kind of crafted this career path, and later found out I qualified as like a defined entrepreneur. And I was like, wow, I'll put that on my business card. Yay.
Absolutely. A whole new title on your resume, right?
Right.
So did you actually work in a corporation before? And so you kind of left that and decided to go on this path, even though it was by accident?
Yeah, I always worked in different service industries. I worked in dietetics and nutrition. I worked with people who had deadly eating disorders, and I taught college level nutrition for a long time. And then I worked in youth ministry and took kids on mission trips and connected them with each other and with God. And then after that, I served in the senior citizen of like industry. I was working with people who had dementia, and I was the activity director, and we just had a complete blast. And it was during that time that I realized, wow, like I've been coaching all along. And I can't say that I came up with that revelation. It was pointed out to me by several people who said, you know what, you need to do this officially. You've been always doing it. Just go for it. And so I went to school for it and became certified by the International Coaching Federation, and just decided, people always say that you should make a career out of the thing that you would do for free. Like you love it so much, you jump out of bed and you would do it for no pay because it lights you up. And to me, sharing joy was that thing. As I looked back on all those things I had always done, joy was that common denominator. I couldn't wait to pour joy into forgotten senior citizens or into teenagers who were just totally messed up, mentally. They had so much pressure. Or people with anorexia. I mean, they didn't come to me looking for joy. And yet the ones who were willing to embrace it, they were the ones who had the most hope of recovery. So here I am.
Oh my gosh, I'm so loving this story, and I have so many questions. So we hear about mindset coaches, we have health and wellness coaches, we have business coaches, career coaches, menopause coaches. I mean, you name it, we have coaches.
Yeah.
But I've never heard of like a joy coach.
Yeah.
And so I like the differentiation of this, because it pops up. It's like joy coach. Like, does anybody have any joy? Like, what could she do to bring joy? So I'd like to get a better understanding of actually what is a joy coach compared to a mindset coach or a life coach.
Yes, that's such a good question. I am certified as a life coach through the International Coaching Federation, and my specialty is helping people to find joy no matter what their circumstances. So I have completely coined that term, joy coach. So that's why if you Google it, you're not going to find that many people who identify that way, because it's not an established career path. And for a while, I'll be honest, I really felt like I was going out on a limb, because it's not like, if you're struggling in your career because you can't stand your job and you just don't want to get out of bed in the morning, you don't think to yourself, I'm going to go find a joy coach who's going to help me pour joy back into my job. No one does that. And so for a long time, I had to just inform the world that this is an option. There are so many areas of life that can be enhanced when we pour joy into those segments of our lives. And so what's really cool about it is it could apply to our career or to our health. How many people are absolutely stuck at their New Year's resolution because they hate it? They're miserable. They've committed to something that just brings them agony. What if we had some fun with it instead? What if we really took a look at what brings joy to you on a health level and made that your focus and allowed that to help you lose weight or whatever your goal was? And so, yeah, it can be applied to relationships. It can be applied to our approach to finance. It can be applied to just our overall sense of adventure and spontaneity and just getting out of the house more often. It can also really be applied to areas of just caring for ourselves, self-care. And so often we think, joy has to be jumping up and down and super excited and hyper. And that is, a good representation for some. But then there are so many of us who define joy as having inner peace, as like feeling okay with things. And so joy might mean taking a nap when life is hard and we just can't face it. We just take 5 minutes out and lay on the couch. It doesn't have to be jumping on a trampoline. It can be, but it doesn't have to be. So the thing that we do in coaching is get it clear right from the start. What is joy for you? Where does it come from? And what are you doing about it?
Oh my gosh. So here's the revelation here for everybody out there. Robin, you really are an inventor. Okay. I just want to let you know. So if you never thought you were an entrepreneur, you have invented a different terminology, a different way to, present the solutions to a problem. And this is what makes inventors really good. They are going out and letting people know the need behind the need that nobody knew they needed. Nobody knew they needed a joy coach until Robin came along to educate them and let them know. And that is really true entrepreneurship. You took the risk, you had confidence in yourself, and you are an inventor. It doesn't have to be a physical thing. Like you are an inventor.
Wow.
Absolutely.
That's really interesting. I mean, considering how many people you have helped get into business and stay in business, I'm going to take that as gold. I trust you. I've never heard that before. So that's pretty interesting to think about. I appreciate that.
Well, you're like only entrepreneurs were inventors, but no, entrepreneurs are the calculated risk takers who are the creators who see things that other people don't. They're not necessarily the ones out there who want to fill a gap. Okay. We can all see the gaps. We can all see we need coaches out there, right? But it's the ones who create opportunities, that create gaps. And that's what you've done. And you've brought attention to something that people never realized they could even get help with bringing that back into their life. So kudos to you, Robin. I'm absolutely thrilled to have you as one of my rockstar entrepreneurs, because that is what a rockstar entrepreneur is all about. So you can now put it on your resume. You are an official inventor.
My resume just grew. Rockstar entrepreneur, inventor.
That was worth coming on here for tonight, right?
It definitely was.
So what have been the challenges that you have had running your business as an entrepreneur? Or you only can pick one, right?
I think probably the greatest challenge was convincing people that this is a viable option.
Yes.
It's not a replacement for therapy. And I love so much that culture is finally starting to appreciate the fact that therapy is good stuff and is available for all. And we're getting it and we need it. And I will have a therapist until she kicks me out. I'm just telling you right now. But, I also feel that, therapy is really helpful for people who need to heal, who have past hurts and just really need to dig back and kind of recover. Whereas coaching is really about, now what? Like, what about tomorrow? What do I want moving forward? And what am I willing to do to get there? And because it's such a new career, people just didn't know that it was a thing. And so I was just banging on doors constantly. Can I speak to your group? Can I talk to your people? Can I tell them about like why they need joy in life and how they can go about getting it? I spoke for free so many times in the first couple of years, which just so happened to take place right during a worldwide pandemic.
Yeah.
And so it was like this constant, like getting the word out to people until there were some seeds planted and some people were willing to take it serious and invest in their own situations and like what difference joy might make. And that was where it got good, because when one person was willing to get the coaching and to see the improvement that it made in life, they were so excited about it. Everybody in their path knew something was different. They wanted to know what it was. And so that's where it really began to take off. But it took a long time just to tell people that it was a thing.
And that is one of the things out there, is that when you are creating opportunities, when you are creating gaps, there is slower uptake. The marketing is more education and giving the information away for free. You were on an education path for a long time. And I say that to small business owners. You're being an inventor. You're coming out with something that people need, but you're going to have to convince them. And you're going to have to convince them with proof of concept, right? And education.
I so appreciate that you are helping entrepreneurs to do that, because I really think that's where a lot of us just give up. That work is really hard, like laying that foundation continually and continuing to believe in it yourself. Because when the bills aren't necessarily being paid and you don't have the information that you need, it's not as easy as you thought it was going to be. You're faced continually with this decision. Do I really want to keep doing this? And if your why is really strong and you really believe that it's going to make a difference, and if people like you get involved who can really help cut through some of the garbage and answer those questions and keep people on track, I think, it's just wonderful. I want to stop and just appreciate you for the difference that you make, because how many entrepreneurs have you saved from the dumpster,
Well, I don't think enough, because 2,739 new businesses went out yesterday, today, and will tomorrow. And that's the 5 million that were created last year. That's how many will go out each day this year.
Wow.
And really, it's so heartbreaking to me, because I've been in the position where your entire livelihood is on the line. You've probably invested money, you've invested time, resources. It's your passion, it's your mission. And to see it all fall apart, when I've learned that it doesn't have to be. Some things may be a little bit more challenging, like you have done, but I think you've done a great workaround. And I think this is a lesson for entrepreneurs watching this right now, is that you spoke for free, right? You went on an education tangent with people. You kept true to what you are and what you do. And I think people have to realize that there are some things that they are paving the way with that you have to have more patience with. And that's where people get stuck and go, it's not happening fast enough. I got to move. And it just depends on which path you chose. Now, some are straightforward and they also can't figure it out because they don't build the foundation. So I'm loving the fact that you knew your brand, and that's really where it starts. You know your target audience. You know what makes you different. The fact that you're a joy coach, that's like a huge thing. And you know the value that you bring, and you've got documentation and, real human proof of that. And so, but you radiate joy. And that's, I have to ask you, all right, so what brings you joy that, I feel like every time I either talk with you or text you or see you on Facebook or whatever, I'm like, she is always like glowing. She is always happy. So what is it? Like, if you could give somebody one tip to pull that out,
Yeah,
what would it be?
that's such a good question. I think the first tip is don't believe that it's always going to happen, because we all have down moments. We all have difficulties. And to expect to always feel great and to always be smiling, you're setting yourself up for disaster. And so there has to be a hefty dose of reality. And we have to know then, when we don't feel great, when we don't feel like smiling on camera or otherwise, what can we do about it? What authentically makes us feel alive? And so, to answer your question, the things that do that for me are connection. That's probably got to be in my top 5. And my list is so long. Oh my gosh, the more I think about this, the longer my list gets. And everyone is that way. But just knowing that we were going to get this time together, and whoever, is joining us for this call, and thank you, by the way, but I'm just so thankful to have this time to know you better and to connect with you and to share something that is hopefully helpful to someone else, which is a second source of joy for me and so many people. Just giving, whether it's time or energy or attention or resources, it could be so many things, but that really does bring me to life. It really does fill me with joy. So there too. Got a bonus.
So if somebody was, I guess, going into being a life coach,
Yeah.
is this an area that somebody has to have a special quality to go in and be a joy coach? Because somebody right now may be a coach out there and go, I'm a life coach, I'm
Mhm.
a mindset coach. Can I be a
Mhm.
joy coach? Like,
Yeah. Mhm.
how do they become a
Yeah.
joy coach? Because I just kind of see you as like the one and only.
I love that you would say that, but that can't be true.
The first
Yeah.
and only. Okay, so there's another differentiator. The first and only out there. I hope that's in your branding. So
My stuff just growing. Yeah. It's funny because, when I felt this was the direction that I was called to serve, and, I gave myself that title, I thought, who in the world is going to take this serious? Because while I had that backing of the ICF and I really wanted to have some credential to my name, there's so many coaches that never go to school and they're
mhm,
amazing. But
mhm.
I personally felt like I needed to have that, year long, just deep dive into what coaching is. And so after that, claiming to be a joy coach was risky, in my opinion, because it wasn't recognized by anybody. It truly was something that I came up with as a result of just listening to what I'm passionate about. And so now I have seen that, there are places where you can go and get trained to be a joy coach. It's a thing. I thought I created it. Other people think that they created it. I don't know who came up with it first. But if you want to actually go and specialize in that, there is this whole awesome field of positive psychology.
Mhm.
If I, ever decide to go back into school, that's probably the direction that I'll go, degree wise. I've been in so many business training courses and programs over the last few years, and I don't have any paper to show for it. I don't have a master's degree. I feel like you and I both should have that by now. But, if I wanted to get like a graduate degree, I would
Mhm.
probably get it in positive psychology. And in doing that, you would be even more qualified to call yourself a joy coach. The fact is, there are more qualified joy coaches than I am, and I'm okay with that, because like you say, like I exude joy or whatever it was. I can't remember the word that you used, but it's who I am. It's how I am made. It's in my DNA. I know joy down to my core, and I've seen it work for people whose situations are just awful, horrendous situations. And I've seen how, their circumstances haven't changed, but their view of their situations
Yeah.
has improved, and they're coping and they're flourishing. So, that's where my qualifications come from, real life experience, those senior citizens, those teenagers, those people with bulimia. Let me
Yeah.
tell you, none of them were looking for joy. And yet, when they worked it into life, when they embraced it, and when they let it become a part of who they were, oh my gosh, they had so much to be thankful for. And so that's what I have to offer, even if there are more qualified joy coaches out there. That was a long answer.
No, I think it's a great answer, because I think it says to people out there, believe in yourself. You may not necessarily need all of that education, all of those credentials, because I have to tell you, I've met some of the best business coaches out there who, because they've started businesses and are experienced there, it's real world. And I would take real world any day over theory, right?
Yeah.
Practice over theory. So much more beneficial. So, so I guess I have a question about where you connect with potential clients. Can you share, you do those speaking engagements, but can you give me an idea of any type of marketing or social media? How do you get the word out? And, where would those clients be coming from?
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely speaking. The more I'm on stage connecting with audiences, the more people sign up for the different opt-ins that I've got. And then they're on my email list, which I'm going to make a confession here and now. I really am not a regular emailer. And so I've got this. I know I need you so bad, Maureen. So yeah, I could grow that. So I grow it and then I don't use it like I should. But
okay. Now I'm going to be like, all right, here I'm coming out with this. Email marketing has a 4,200% ROI. It is the most effective marketing campaign you could do, better than Twitter and Facebook, 40 times more conversions. Okay, so I'm going to get off my high horse.
No, you deserve to be there.
I'm going to say it's my number one way to connect with my audience, to nurture that audience, and to convert it. Because think about it, Robin, they've raised their hand. They're like, I have gotten to know you. I like you. I'm handing something precious over to you, which is like handing over your personal phone number.
Yep.
They want to hear from you. And because you have to educate on this concept, my gosh, every month I'd be like, where's the joy info coming in from? Okay, so I'm not going to get into it anymore.
I'm glad you did, and I hope I'm not the only one who needed to hear that.
You're not. So I do a lot of speaking as well. And when I say to people, how many people are on your list? I don't have any people on my list. Well, why not? Right? You should be moving all the social media people off social media and onto your list so that you own them, right? That they're yours. But you're not alone. A lot of people are like, oh, I just delete them all day. They go to the spam box. Nobody wants to be bothered. No. All right. So
valuable. Thank you.
Oh, well, so speaking engagements. So you would encourage people to get on the speaking circuit, and are there certain social media platforms that you've had good success with?
Yes, it's been interesting. I was thinking about that just recently because I have a pretty active presence on LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram. And I was thinking, where do the bulk of my clients come from, whether like paid speaking engagements or coaching clients? And I can't really say that I've gotten a lot from Instagram. However, like the reels that I post are, growing my following. But I do find that Facebook and LinkedIn are where I get a lot of speaking engagements from. People see this stuff, they get excited. And so I didn't take LinkedIn very seriously until a couple of years ago. And man, I'm so glad that I did. And it was actually during a call like this, and someone was talking about, just how serious people are about doing actual business on LinkedIn, And so I gave it a try, and I, had to learn a whole new platform and stuff, but I'm so glad I did. And so it's grown my business, but I've also, being the connector and stuff, I've also grown so many relationships with people, so many friendships. These are people that I'm doing life with on a regular basis now. And so I'm thankful for that. So I spend a lot of time there as well. And then I did write a book about, a couple months ago.
I know. We're going to get into that because I absolutely love the name of this book. LinkedIn is my number one favorite platform. And I say to people, whether you're B2B or B2C, it doesn't matter, because those are people who still need to buy stuff. It may not be that you're doing business with them, but they are consumers too. And you're right. Real business happens on LinkedIn. So I'm a huge advocate of it. I actually do training workshops for LinkedIn specifically so that small business owners can put a company page together and get that
Oh,
going.
good.
Yeah, so I'm a big fan. But do you have a copy of your book you can put up? Do you have one in front of you?
Just started keeping one around. I'm supposed to have it in my background, but so far it's on my desk.
I
Yeah.
love this name. Love Messy Joy, because life is so messy, business is so messy. And I'm like,
Yes.
where did you come up with this title?
It's just the focus that I have had with my clients is this idea of how to find joy in the mess, because so many people have said, well, I'm going to focus on myself when my kid graduates, or, I'm going to go on this awesome vacation that I've saved up for after I retire. There's always this but. I'm waiting to clean up the mess is essentially what they're saying. And I'm here to say joy is not going to wait forever. Like, get it now, work it into whatever your situation is now, and let it enhance the now, and then go for it later as well. But, if you're waiting for your, relationship to feel good again before you start doing things that bring meaning to you, you might be waiting a really long time. Or, if you've had a diagnosis come your way that is just so difficult, and that's tempting to think, well, once I'm through all my treatment, once I'm through my protocol, I'll focus more on these things. I'm here to say, when you mix joy into your mess and you embrace this concept of messy joy, that's when life really gets good. And so that's where the title of the book came from. And it's a book that I took about 1.5 years to write, and it was just like this download. It was a book that I never planned to write, but I guess that's kind of my story. I didn't plan to do any of this either, and yet here we are. But I do really like to listen to advice that I've received, or wisdom, or, what in my faith journey, I feel like God is telling me to do certain things. And this book is one of those. And so here we are. I wrote it and still wasn't sure if I wanted to publish it, because it contains some really private stuff that I experienced that was messy and kept very private. And how joy was found despite all of that ick. And, so I wrote it out of, this obedience to God telling me to write it, but I really wasn't sure about sharing it. And I talked to a publisher, and they loved the idea. And I thought, oh boy, okay. And so then I talked to some more publishers, and I started getting some offers, and I got 7. And I thought, oh my gosh, like, this must have some purpose. And so I went with the first publisher. It's kind of like that first wedding dress, like, oh, I'm going to the first one.
Yeah.
So I went with that publisher, and as a result of putting it out there and doing it scared, I have met so many people who needed this book and are saying to me, thank you. This is part of my healing journey. I have prayed for a book like this. And these are strangers and friends alike. And I realized, like, I could have kept this to myself out of fear. And yet, just putting it out there, trusting that somebody somewhere would be helped, was worth it. And I wrote it for one. I kept saying to myself, if this helps one person, it will be worth it. And to hear these stories now, I think, it's just so inspiring. And if I write another book, it's probably going to be a follow-up on all of these stories that now I'm hearing from people about their own messy joy experience, and how glad they are that they didn't wait to clean it up, and they just mixed it into the mess and found that the two can coexist beautifully together. And so that might be next. I guess we'll see.
Well, and you've become a national best-selling author with this book.
Yeah.
So for people out there who want to purchase it, which I will be purchasing it because my life's a mess and I need to find some joy out of that mess.
Being the human being that you are.
I'm juggling a lot of messes here. So yeah. So how do people purchase the book?
The book's on Amazon. And if you want to get a signed copy from me, you can always just reach out through my website, which is joytotheworldcoaching.com. And I'm super excited. So I put something together for people who want to give it a little like test run.
Yeah.
So within this book, I've got 232 self-application questions, journal questions, or small group discussion starters, whatever. And I know like couples who are reading this book together and answering these questions together and growing and stuff. But I think that, you know, there are some people who will probably never take that step and buy that book. And yet they're curious enough, you know, about would this fit in my life? You know, would these questions make a difference? And so what I've done is I've pulled some questions from the book, and I put together a month of Messy Joy Journal questions. And it's just a free offering to give people a test run to see if their situation can be one that's enhanced by adding joy without cleaning up the mess. And so that is available at joytotheworldcoaching.com/messyjoyquestions. The longest website I could come up with.
Well, that's okay. I love this. And for all my small business owners here, one of the biggest things that I am walking away with is we all have a story to share. We all have something out there, and there is an audience who needs to hear it. And I'm so glad you kind of conquered that fear in yourself to want to share that story. And for those of you out there who are thinking about your journey, whatever it is and what has brought you to this point, being authentic and real is what people relate to. And I think that's why you're so amazing at what you do, Robin. You're just so relatable, and you radiate joy, you walk the walk. And I just feel privileged to know you. And I'm hoping you're going to come back, especially if you're doing the second Messy Joy 2, right?
I'd be so happy to.
So for everybody out there who wants to reach out to Robin, please do. I don't think you're going to regret it. And if you'd like to, book a speaking engagement with her, I'm sure you do it for all organizations and businesses, and please contact her. And of course, her book is available. So you are amazing. So we have we're at the 30-minute mark, the 32-minute mark, right? And I could continue talking to you. For those of you who have tuned in or you're watching the replay, I hope that you have picked up some words of wisdom, some amazing inspiration tonight. We've got a few best practices too from an entrepreneur who's been making her way through it. And so I hope they're going to help you out. Now, we will be back to our regular Thursday lineup, 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. If you would like to be a guest here on Why Are You an Entrepreneur, regardless of whether you're just starting, maybe even you're struggling, or you've been in business 50 years, we want to hear your story because you have a story and I have an audience who needs to hear it. If you need anything from me, like taking the hard out of your entrepreneurial journey, just reach out to 8simplesteps.net. I'm here to answer your questions. And again, if you'd like to be a guest, reach out to me at 8simplesteps.net. Robin, thank you so much. I have just loved having you here.
I love being with you. Thanks for filling my joy bucket today.
Oh my goodness. All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.